The time is precisely 8:45 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Dulmin Samarasinghe and read by Chandima Veerakorn. Headlines: Sri Lanka gets Russian Sputnik vaccine. The leader of the opposition requests the Russian ambassador to assist Sri Lanka. The Government Medical Officers Association commends banning chemical fertilizer in agriculture. The Parliament is scheduled to meet at 10 a.m. tomorrow. In news overseas, French lockdown eased to help schools and travel. In sports news, it's cricket. New Zealand replaces England at top of men's ODI rankings. Local stories in detail. State Minister Professor Channajaya Sumana says that Sri Lanka will get 15,000 doses of Russian Sputnik vaccine tonight. People will be given that vaccine in due course. Meanwhile, giving the second shot of the AstraZeneca Covishield vaccine for those who were given the first dose has commenced. Head of the Epidemiology Unit, Dr. Sudat Samaravira, requested the people to be patient until the second jab is given. Leader of the opposition, Sajid Premadasa, met the Russian ambassador in Sri Lanka and requested the Russian government to assist Sri Lanka to help arrest the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Premadasa, who met the Russian ambassador, requested Russia to provide mobile hospitals, PCR machines, ICU beds and other medical equipment. He has said that the main opposition in Sri Lanka has decided to join the national effort to fight the pandemic. The Government Medical Officers Association has appreciated the decision of the President to ban using chemical fertilizer in agriculture. It has said that food safety for the people is a priority concern for them. The GMOA has pointed out that institutes and departments related to food and agriculture focus only on food security but not on food safety. Therefore, there had been multiple issues in the country related to food safety during past decades. It has proposed to introduce laws to make food production and importing companies legally accountable to provide a profile containing details of the production of food from the inception to the point of selling to the consumer. It has said that laws should be formulated to entrust final decision on food safety with the Ministry of Health. The GMOA has asked to establish a judiciary structure dedicated to food-related issues. The Parliament is scheduled to convene at 10 a.m. tomorrow, with this week's Parliament sittings limited to just 2 days. The party leaders agreed at the meeting of the Committee on Parliamentary Business held recently to pass an order under the Sri Lanka Export Development Act, 4 notifications under the Excise Ordinance, the Value Added Tax Amendment Bill and the Inland Revenue Amendment Bill from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Secretary-General Dhammika Dasanayake said that no time would be allotted for oral questions of MPs and for questions under standing orders. He said an adjournment debate on the current situation in the country would be held tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. without a lunch break. The International Labour Organization has called for the creation of a better framework that would facilitate credit for buyers when they are dealing with micro and small-scale enterprises. The ILO, in its research on value chain financing, notes that certain arrangements are more conducive to economic activity. According to the ILO, a value chain is the full range of activities that are required to bring a product or service from its conception to the final consumers. ILO Country Director Simran Singh said that it was better for both participants to engage with a third agency if there is a requirement for credit on the buyer's side. Singh noted that most informal sector financing mechanisms rely on the buyer with their secured cash flow to provide pre-finance to maintain the operating expenses of the seller. Singh was speaking recently on a webinar organized by the Centre for Banking Studies on Value Chain Financing. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Receive early cash advances and an unmatchable bonus at maturity from Sri Lanka Insurance Early Cash.
Continuing with the local stories, Mr. Sudeva Hettiarachchi, who was appointed as the Director General of President's Media Division, and Mr. Kingsley Ratnayaka, who was appointed as the President's Media Spokesman, assumed duties this morning. The police headquarters has taken steps to create mobile application to store data on three-wheel drivers island-wide. Senior DIG Lalit Patinayaka has initiated the program in order to identify the driver's details for passengers and also to police immediately act in the event of a crime or theft of three-wheelers. He said that police were currently collecting the data of all three-wheelers engaged in taxi services. Police commenced the program from Kandy and expect to launch the mobile app by the end of this month. He further said around 200,000 three-wheeler drivers were engaged in taxi service at present. The Excise Department has taken into custody more than 30,000 cigarettes valuing over 2 million rupees imported illegally. 4 suspects have been arrested in connection with the incident. The suspects are residents of Kalaniya, Vattala and Jaila areas. To end the local news, the headlines again. Sri Lanka gets Russian Sputnik vaccine. The leader of the opposition requests the Russian ambassador to assist Sri Lanka. The Government Medical Officers Association commends banning chemical fertilizer in agriculture. The Parliament is scheduled to meet at 10 a.m. tomorrow. That ends local news.
Finished? You have 1 more hour to write the exam.
Yes, sir. Always early.
Receive early cash advances and an unmatchable bonus at maturity from Sri Lanka Insurance Early Cash.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Veda Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
The National Operations Centre for Prevention of COVID-19 outbreaks said another 1,046 persons have tested positive for coronavirus today. All new cases are associated with the New Year COVID-19 cluster. This brings the total of confirmed cases of COVID-19 recorded in the country to 112,798. Out of this number, 106,960 COVID-19 cases are connected to the Minuwangoda, Paliagoda prisons and New Year clusters. That ends the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya. Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
Moving on to Watchlight, the Department of Labour has taken a decision to limit the people visiting the head office as well as the provincial and district labour offices in order to contain the spread of COVID-19 virus. Accordingly, people visiting the head office to claim Employees' Provident Fund are informed to make an appointment through the department's official website www.labourdept.gov.lk. That ends Watchlight. We move on to world news now. The headlines. French lockdown eased to help schools and travel. Serious cases in Japan hover near record. The Duke of Sussex calls for vaccines to be distributed to everyone, everywhere. French children have returned to classes in schools across the country and a domestic travel ban has been lifted as the government eases its third COVID lockdown. Citizens can now travel further than 10 kilometers from home and can go anywhere in France. And they no longer have to carry a form giving a valid reason for travelling. The third lockdown, lighter than the previous two, took effect in March. A nighttime curfew remains in force. The number of patients with serious symptoms across Japan stands at 1,084, renewing the record set on Sunday. The medical system is under great strain. The western prefecture of Osaka has the largest number of new cases. Officials confirmed 847 today. Hospital beds for seriously ill patients were at more than 98% capacity as of Saturday in Osaka. Across the country, more than 3,800 new cases have been reported today. The Duke of Sussex has called for vaccines to be distributed to everyone, everywhere, at a star-studded charity concert in Los Angeles. Prince Harry appeared alongside dozens of celebrities at the Vax Live event, a charity performance in aid of the international COVID vaccine effort. Hosted by the singer Selena Gomez, the concert, to be aired on Saturday, featured performances from artists Jennifer Lopez and Foo Fighters. To end the world news, the headlines again. French lockdown is to help schools and travel. Serious cases in Japan hover near record. The Duke of Sussex calls for vaccines to be distributed to everyone, everywhere. That ends world news. Moving on to development news. The Central Environmental Authority has been instructed by the Environment Minister, Mahinda Amravira, to designate river conservation zones for all rivers in the island with immediate effect. He has instructed yesterday to take action to remove illegal dwellers who are currently occupying the lands along the river banks. He has instructed to ensure they do not engage in any construction or cultivation activities at least 150 meters from a river and to relocate them. And on sports news, it's cricket, football, and we take a look at cricket news. New Zealand has replaced world champions England at top of the men's one-day international rankings. Ian Morgan's side has slipped to fourth overall, but remains top of the 2020 international rankings. The update to the annual rankings halves the weighting of the results from 2019 to 20, including the 50-over World Cup, in which England beat New Zealand in an unforgettable final. New Zealand, who was previously third, beat Bangladesh 3-0 in their only ODI series in the last 12 months. Australia has also moved up 2 slots to second, with India dropping 1 place to third. And on news on football, the Manchester United Supporters Trust has urged co-chairman Joel Glazer to engage with fans to avoid a repeat of the protest at Old Trafford on Sunday. United's Premier League match against Liverpool was called off after about 200 fans broke into the ground. Fans were protesting against owners, the Glazers, who they say have driven the club into debt and decline. Valencia has sacked head coach Xavi Gracia after 10 months in charge. The La Liga side's 3-2 defeat by Barcelona on Sunday saw them drop to within 6 points of the relegation zone. The former Watford boss leaves having won just 8 games this season. Up next is business news.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply. Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
Vidul Lanka PLC will be investing approximately 1 billion rupees to expand their generation capacity in the solar energy segment in Sri Lanka for the financial year 2021-22. CEO Vidul Lanka, Riaz Sangani, said they will actively invest more into the solar energy sector in Sri Lanka and undertake the biggest venture to build a 10-megawatt plant in Vaunathu, Batiklo district. He said the total investment would be around 1.4 billion rupees. That ends business news. Up next is economic news.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money. Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic news, courtesy of...
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
And on economic news, headline inflation as measured by the year-on-year change in the Colombo Consumer Price Index decreased to 3.9% in April 2021 from 4.1% in March 2021. This was driven by monthly decreases of price of items in the food category. Meanwhile, food inflation year-on-year decreased to 9% in April 2021 from 9.6% in March 2021. Non-food inflation remained unchanged at 1.8% in April 2021. That ends economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And finally, on the weather report, the Met Department says showers or thunder showers will occur in most parts of the island tonight. Very heavy rainfalls, about 150 millimeters, can be expected at some places in Sabragamur and central provinces, and heavy rainfalls above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in western, southern and northwestern provinces. Thunder showers accompanied by severe lightning are likely to occur in Sabragamur, central, western and north central provinces, and in Gaul, Mathura and Kurunagala districts. That ends the weather report.
Weather Report was sponsored by
Dialogue, in partnership with the Ministry of Education, introduces Nanasa, a trilingual educational mobile app with video-based lessons for grade 1 to A-levels. Now your child can study with ease on your mobile with no subscription fee.
And to end this bulletin of news, the headlines again. Sri Lanka gets Russian Sputnik vaccine. The leader of the opposition requests the Russian ambassador to assist Sri Lanka. The Government Medical Officers Association commends banning chemical fertilizer in agriculture. The Parliament is scheduled to meet at 10 a.m. tomorrow. In news overseas, French lockdown is to help schools and travel. In sports, New Zealand replaced England at top of men's ODI rankings. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.